We really are coming into the colder months now. I've noticed in the UK it's dropped quite a bit. So I'm going to give you 5 of the best designer winter fragrances for 2022. Wear these this winter and you will smell amazing. They're in no particular order, but I'll do a 5 to 1. So number 5, this is Scandal Pour Homme Le Parfum. This is the newest release from Jean Paul Gaultier. The original Scandal came out last year. Really nice, fresh, aromatic but sweet fragrance. Had caramel in the base, and it had vetiver and lavender as well to give it that kind of aromatic touch. But this takes the kind of sweeter, darker notes and just amplifies them. So it's not going to be as fresh. It's a lot darker, a lot more seductive, and really plays on that caramel note. So that's going to be a great fragrance for the winter. Number 2, and in my opinion, the best in the Stronger With You line. This is Stronger With You Intensely. This focuses on the note of toffee. So you've also got a kind of roasted chestnut vibe. It smells like a less niche version of By the Fireplace. This is a really warming, classic kind of style designer fragrance. It just smells really nice and really inviting. This projects a lot of my skin, and it's almost a beast mode room filler fragrance for me. I wore this last winter, and in my office at work, I sprayed it on, went outside, came back 10 minutes later, and I could smell it everywhere. So my impression of this and my experience is that it's a room filling fragrance, but a very nice, warming, seductive fragrance for the winter. And it's one of those fragrances that people smell and they go, oh wow, what are you wearing? It smells really nice. So it's just a nice, pleasant smelling winter fragrance. Now we're moving on to one of my all-time favorite designer fragrances, not just for the winter, but it will work wonderfully for the winter. This is Givenchy Gentleman EDP. Now you could use this in place of fragrances like Dior Homme Intense and Valentino Uomo Intense, and that is because they are fairly similar in the DNA structure. This has iris, which is the main note that you're going to focus on, same as Dior Homme Intense and Valentino Uomo Intense. But this has a beautiful dark vanilla note in the base, which really works well with the iris. So you've got that kind of sweet touch, and that is what is going to work in the cold weather to cut through the cold air. And vanilla is a really warming kind of fragrance note, so perfect for the winter. But that iris note makes this kind of formal. So this is one you could wear to work. This is one you could wear to a kind of fancy winter party or something like that. Something where you just want to wear a bit more nicer clothes than usual, but you also want to smell really inviting at the same time. So number 3, Givenchy Gentleman EDP. Now we're on the last 2. Now these 2 are absolute bangers, of course. In my top 5 list, they're going to be good. So number 2, AZZARO The Most Wanted. This is the original version, not the Parfum, although that is good as well. This has been a bestseller for me on my website the last 3 or 4 weeks. Keep selling out of it. This bottle is actually empty. But I can still smell it. It's an incredible fragrance, a really good release by AZZARO. Probably one of the best designer fragrance releases I've smelt in the last 2 years. This is toffee, it's amberwood, and it's just beautiful. It's strong. It just smells quite expensive. Doesn't smell cheap or anything, but it's a really good price. You can get this for around £60, 100ml. It's going to last you a long time, and it's going to really cut through the winter air. It's a strong fragrance, and it's just what you need when you're going outside and you want something that's going to last. So AZZARO The Most Wanted is going to be my number 2 spot. Now, how could I have a best 5 designer fragrance list without including Tom Ford? Now with Tom Ford, I usually include the private blend line in my niche lists and the signature line in my designer lists. I know it's confusing, but just the prices are so different, and I don't want to include something that's sort of over £200 in a designer list. Hope that makes sense. Anyway, number 1, Tom Ford Ombre Leather. This is a superb fragrance. No one does leather fragrances like Tom Ford, in my opinion. They just smell realistic realistic leather, but also inviting and relatively easy to wear at the same time. So I think that's a really hard skill, and that's something Tom Ford has mastered perfectly. This is leather, of course, and it's also cardamom. The cardamom note in the opening adds a spice, and that's really important in a leather fragrance, that you have something else to go with it. Otherwise, it's going to be just too too challenging and just too difficult to wear. So that cardamom note is very important because it adds that spiciness that just gives it something else. It's not just a dark kind of flat leather note. It's really interesting, it's sexy, it's sophisticated, and this is something I like to wear when I'm wearing a suit, not when I'm hanging around the house casually. For me, it's not that kind of fragrance. It's a going out fragrance when you want to impress. And yes, it's strong. Yes, it's long lasting. And yes, it will cut through the winter air. If you look around, you can find this for around 110, 120 pound, I think, for 100 mil. More expensive than the others, but its quality is unmatched. It's a perfect fragrance for the winter and a great fragrance just to have in your collection anyway. So these are my top 5 for winter 2022. I'll do the niche fragrance list tomorrow. Let me know what you think. Would you have any of these in your rotation for winter, or would you choose something else?